City Council meeting of Monday, June 19th, or July 3rd to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I have the approval of agenda? We do have one change under Citizens Business Verbal number 2, Weston County Health Services. Judd Dawson is unable to attend this evening.
I move we accept the amended agenda.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Approval of minutes of the regular meeting and executive session of Monday, June 19th, 2023.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting and executive session of Monday, June 19th, 2023.
I second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Do we have any nominations for recognition? Certificates of recognition. Number 1, Garrett Borton and the RPM team. Looks like they're here for your wonderful event. So you want to tell us a little bit about it this year?
This was our 8th year for RPM, and it was, as a team, we agreed that it was our smoothest. We've had some ups and downs, as you can imagine, the first few. It's solidified more. Like, we can feel not just through the sponsorship of the community, but the attendance and the support in other areas. So we're thankful this year was our smoothest year of the 8.
Awesome. Well, I have a certificate for you. You can frame and have it with everyone.
We need a picture.
Thank you.
Where's our
Brand stuff for our community,
press?
guys.
Thank you guys too, appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have another recognition, Joey and Brian Mefford for the Mefford Memorial. We'll get this out in the mail to them. Citizens Business in Writing, Big Game Electric for electrical license.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Happy 4th of July. Be safe.
Okay, we have, did you get to see their bond? License, yeah, okay. So we have a Big Game Electric out of Gillette, Wyoming. We have a current state electrical license attached. Looks like these have been paid for master electrician license, James Sick for master election, and that's everything that's up there.
Your Honor, I move we accept the application for electrical license by Big Game Electric.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. There's nowhere for me to sign on them. Okay, thank you. All right, Citizens Business Verbal number 1, Bruce Perkins, Warm Summer Nights, Open Container, 24-hour catering permit. So we have for a 24-hour catering permit under and by virtue of the provision of Section 12-4-50T subsection B of the State of Wyoming Alcohol Beverage Control Laws the City of Newcastle, County of Weston, State of Wyoming, in consideration of the sum of $20 paid by Bruce Perkins, doing business as Perkins Tavern of the City of Newcastle, County of Weston, hereby license permits and authorizes said Bruce Perkins doing business as Perkins Tavern to sell parking lot next to First Northern Bank Summer Avenue for an event more specifically described as Warm Summer Nights First Northern Bank Barbecue. So it's First Northern Bank as well, because they're doing their grand opening that night, and so we have a form event for that as well that has open container on it. So,
Yeah, they decided just to combine two events.
yeah, I think it's great.
And all we're doing is beer cakes in the parking lot. That's all they really want to do, go along with the barbecue. So that's why I need a catering permit for that.
Right. So, and this is going through 9 a.m. beginning on July 14th at 9 a.m. through the 15th of July at 9 o'clock a.m.
I expect everything will be cleaned up before dark, or close to it.
I make a motion, we accept it.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Did you-
I was just gonna mention that the bank has told me that they're going to serve the beer from 5 to 7 only, I think, is what I.
But it's going to go along with the barbecue.
Yeah. Okay.
So if it's open permit and they're only gonna serve it that long, we can still hang out until the next morning at 9 o'clock.
There we go.
Right?
But what it does too,
Party down, man.
this is time to get people off the street.
Okay.
I second her motion. Oh, I can't, I'm part of this.
Yes.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Can you put that on?
I abstained.
Thank you. Yes, I just told Stacy. Okay.
Now, with the rest of the event, they asked me to come up here to present it to you. So there's a few issues. Road closure. They would like that block of Sumner, the Main Street, was it West Warwick, blocked off so they could have that open area to, people to sit, bring tables and chairs, because they could have music. So they were asking for the road closure there. I know we've done it in the past, but I know also there's some construction going on with the sheriff's office, so I don't know how it's going to interfere or not interfere.
We did put in a written map and everything application for that.
Oh, you already spent one?
Yeah, we did. The bank did, I did it for the bank. And by the way, there's no closure of Main Street in this particular
I was just
one.
gonna say, I'm looking.
Yeah,
So it's just Sumner
Yeah, just
from
something.
Main Street.
West Warwick, just that one block in front of the bank.
And the alley.
Yeah, and well, yes, and yeah.
I didn't see any problem with closures.
Well, I think they wanted to leave Main Street out of it because they want the parking for people, so they can get down there.
But, yeah, that's my next step, once this is approved.
It's been approved.
Okay, the road closure is approved?
Well, that's part of the event, so yeah.
Okay. The next one would be open container relaxation and closed container laws. They want it in that closed area that's blocked off, but also to extend across Main Street up Sumner to the alley next to Isabella's. All right, and their parking lot. So it would come across the street and then also in front of the bar. So we have tables and chairs out. So that it's extended outside of the closed-in area, with barricades as far as the open container. But it's just basically one more block.
Okay, but that block's not gonna be blocked off.
It's not going to be blocked off, but what it's going to do is people can come, use the crosswalks, of course, come back and forth, go over to Isabella's, maybe sit in their patio and listen, come over and sit in front of our bar, tables and chairs and listen. So it's going to give them more options. But
So we can get a free beer at the bank and go over to Isabella's and sit in their parking lot?
sit in front of my place, I'll let you.
I don't know whether they'd like that.
See, that was the whole idea, give everybody, back and forth flow. And provide more seating for the event.
So I'm not super familiar with the form, but like, was this something that you could have requested on the form for the event?
Open container has never been on a forum for me before.
No? So it's not part of the event paperwork or anything?
Well, it's on the event paperwork.
I wrote it on there.
And he got the permit.
I got the catering.
With this description that he just added?
No.
Okay,
So-
well, I just don't understand why that couldn't have been added as part of the description. So he didn't have to ask for special permission, he could just
Does
put
he
it
have the?
It would only go to him.
Last minute coordination.
on. Oh, so this is like a brainstorm kind of thing? Okay.
So this would have to change. But I think the thing that,
Yep.
I mean, are we gonna have to close up down that portion? Because people are used to being able just to cross the street with their drinks and,
I was just gonna ask the chief about public intoxication. What if
I think I would be a little concerned if we did not have Main Street shut down as well. If we have an event that's on both sides and people are, especially if we're having alcohol provided,
yeah.
people walking back and forth, I think there could be issues.
What we've done in the past, chief, is that right beside his bar where his door stopped and his table stopped, we cross the street right there on Main. And then we shut it down on,
Would
as
be
you come
from
in.
Seneca to Sumner.
Yeah, and we shut it down, and you can go through partially at that intersection, and you could turn and go past Isabella's and go around Main Street that way.
But we're shutting Main Street down.
From that.
Uh-oh.
I wasn't thinking of that, but if you need it to be shut down so you
I
can
think
keep
we're
the
gonna-
open
I
container
would be
in a
comfortable.
barricaded area.
I think we should. We'd have to shut down Main Street.
Well, it would just be that intersection, you would just, Sumner, that's it. People would still come up Main Street, park, go to the event, then, turn around, go back out. And same way, coming down, say,
What-
from the post office.
What worries me though is if we don't stop it at, Seneca, if you get a tourist with a camper and they're gonna have to back up, because they're not
You gotta
paying
give them,
attention.
you gotta give them the key to it. You
Yeah.
can't just shut it down halfway down the street.
Unless, yeah, I would say, I just worry about that.
That's what I was thinking about, just leaving it open and let everybody just use crosswalks and sit, in the areas, which would be Isabella and the Perkins there on the other side, and have the beverage and food. Without having to block it out, but, it's not my decision on that.
I think. What do you think, chief?
I think if you're gonna have people on both sides, I think you need to shut it down.
From Seneca to Summer.
Yeah, have that whole block shut down.
Are you okay with that change?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not a problem.
Okay. So do we have a motion to extend the 24-hour open container, Wyoming open container law for Isabella's between Seneca and Sumner? Do we need to block off the alley?
Yes.
I would think so.
Okay, all right, just
We want to keep
the,
everything on Main Street.
okay. To add the Seneca and Sumner to be blocked off.
Okay, so we're gonna have that plus the one block of Warwick. Okay. And the open container was okay in the Isabella's parking lot and the terrace area right there, that corner. So that's private property, but I just want to make sure that they have permission to have that open container, because you could have people bringing over chairs and wanting to sit there. And that's another thing too. They're going to be wanting to do that on the library lawn.
That would have to be something that the event talks with the library about. That we can't make that decision. So the map that I have here, it's blocked off at the corner of Sumner and Warwick. And then it'll be blocked off to Sumner and Main Street, by the Isabellas, down to Seneca, correct? And the alley by the bank.
Yeah, it basically got an L-shaped. That's blocked off.
Now,
Okay.
are you saying that somebody can't come down here and turn and go around?
No, they can come and turn here.
Oh, okay. that's
They
cool.
just won't be able to go straight.
Yeah. We always try to leave something open so they can turn and get it to help out of it if they want to.
Yeah, but if you leave this and only block it here, you're not gonna, if somebody comes down here with a camper or a big truck,
Then they'll be in trouble
yeah. That was just my only concern.
until the event's over. And that means we can sell more things downtown.
Yes,
You can sell more ice cream. You can,
if I'm open. Okay. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion?
I understand the concern for public safety, but, I don't understand why we have to shut down the whole downtown block. People can cross the street, all right, I would think. And I've seen people on Main Street sidewalks more than a little intoxicated before. So I don't think this sounds like it's gonna be that rowdy of a party.
The bar scene around here lost, 6 years ago? Because Wyoming passed a law saying that the convenience stores can sell liquors and beer as long as they have a license. So as the bars closed, we went to the convenience stores, they bought them up, and so we got very few bars left in town, actually. True bars.
got yours.
It's gonna be there for a while, long after I'm gone.
I have been downtown once, it only happened once, where a big truck come down through. And we ended up having to move the barricades for them to go through the main street instead of taking them through the side. So it has happened.
There do be plenty of people
Blocking that off, I think, is a wise choice to do with many people might be down there.
But there's a lot of people that's been racing up and down Main Street, so if you get a bunch of people that are not paying attention, more worried about carrying their beer instead of watching for traffic.
Watching for traffic.
Well, usually when they have the events, it's blocked off and you got little kids dancing out in the street. And I'm
Yeah.
just afraid that they're gonna forget that it's not blocked off, you know? So there's that too. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, all right,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome, Mr.
I
Boss.
kind of grew circle everywhere on there.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
Mayor, council member reports, youth services. I don't know if everybody's read that email that came out. We've already approved our budget, but dated June 22nd, we received a letter. If you did not receive it, it says, an email, as you are aware, Weston County School District number 1 has decided to withdraw their 1/3 contribution for the youth service program in 2023-24. The county would like to continue to provide these services to the community. It is our hope that the city feels the same way and will continue the partnership with the county to help fund this program. In years past, the city, school district, and county have split these funds, and the county is asking that the city now split these costs with the county. And it says, please sign the enclosed contract and return back to the clerk's office at your earliest convenience. Thank you. If there's any further questions, please let me know. Sincerely, Becky Hadlock. And what were we paying before? Do you remember?
It's usually billed out monthly, but it's close to around the 14,000.
Yeah, and now they're asking for $23,386. which, once again, we've already approved our budget. And we can respond with the same response I got in regards to them increasing the ambulance. And they said they've already figured out their budget, so they can't give any more.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what our response should be. We've set our budget. Could be something we can consider next year, but, you know, we need to kind of look and see what that service is, if they do continue with that service.
Well, and the other thing is that we've known about this for quite a while, and that the school was looking at an SRO, and even Cobard came in and talked to us about it, so I'm not sure why we're getting a letter now and not back when.
And did they get the SRO?
Well, the chief's working on it.
In other words, we pay for that too.
So I think it'd have to be something we look at our next fiscal year. I don't know, what do you guys think?
So in the spirit of
That's what I'd say.
partnership and the fact that, it's kind of an important thing, you know, one thing I don't understand is why the school quit putting in, because it seems like it would be an important thing for the school to be, you know, a part of.
Well, I think with everything that's been happening at the school, it's, and in the world, it's actually safer to have an SRO there more than a probation officer.
Yeah, I think their thought, and I don't mean to speak for them, but in the few conversations I've had, is that we'd rather have somebody in the school to start trying to get a handle on some of the issues before they get to the probation part. And maybe having an SRO in there would help that, so we don't have as many problems, because they're getting to know the SRO and they're dealing with them on a daily basis. We're hoping to do some, you know, maybe more prevention than enforcement.
So you're saying that basically we could let this go in the spirit of trying to get the school resources officer in there, and they would fill a similar role?
Similar, but not.
They'd be more preventive, not after.
Right. Yeah, after we've gone there and arrested somebody or something like that, so.
Yeah,
I would say it's a similar role, but it's.
Yeah, youth probation's still gonna be there. It's for the ones that can't be remolded or put on a better track, and continue, they would end up with probation and parole, or youth probation. But I mean, the program is, I mean, both programs are great, but you know, we're gonna be looking at the cost of an SRO as well. I mean, so, and I don't know if we even have this room for this in the budget right now.
Well, we've already allocated, I believe, $14,000 to the youth services.
So this would be an additional
Mm-hmm.
$9,000. Well, yeah. And, I mean, is there somebody that's filling this role right now?
Yes.
So there is a youth services probationary officer that's at the school?
No. Deb retired at the end of the school
Right.
year. This new youth probation officer is gonna be at the sheriff's department. I'm sure she'll work closely with the chief and then with the students. But she will not have an office at the school.
So are they gonna be able to move forward with this program without the school's contribution?
I don't know the county's budget. I would assume they could, but that's just assuming. They're looking at how it's always been split, and it's not, and since the school's not there, they want us to take half of what the school was paying.
Yeah, divvy up the last third. It's not getting paid. Well, there's a few burning questions that I have. So I guess a decision doesn't have to be made tonight, but I would like some more questions answered in regard to this. I mean, could somebody from the county be invited to come and speak to it a little bit so that we can,
Well, you would have to probably speak with the sheriff and the new youth probation officer, which we could ask them to come in at our next meeting.
I mean, I think that's warranted, given that they're asking for funding from us to let us know exactly what it's gonna be used for and why they feel that it's important.
Yeah,
Okay, so
And I'd also like to talk with somebody from the school and find out why they decided to pull their third.
What were they thinking? You know, it just,
It seems like an important program to have in place to pull their funding
Well,
from.
they pretty much pulled their funding because they don't have they're not gonna have somebody in the school anymore. That was part of their funding was, you
I
know,
could be wrong on this, but I believe they pulled their funding and gave it to us for the SRO position.
I guess
I
I
know there
don't
was
see
some talk
that
there.
either, but.
yeah. So maybe we can see if LaCroix can come as well.
So why did they move out of the school?
yeah, who made that
The
decision?
school did. The
No.
school made the decision of replacing youth probation with an
An
SRO.
SRO.
Yeah. So
So the school made that decision.
why don't we just table this and ask all those questions, because I don't know, I can't answer for them either. So I think it'd be better if we just wait and have them here so they
Okay.
can answer.
No, that's why I wanted us to invite them,
Okay,
just
I'll
so
leave
that
that
we
with you.
can get briefed up on this so we can understand better.
All right, so that's tabled for our next meeting. Okay, old business, ordinance number 3, series 2023, an ordinance amending regulating animal and animal feces disposal within the town of Newcastle, second reading. I moved it around. Okay. So ordinance number 3, series 2023, an ordinance amending regulating animals and animal feces disposal within the town of Newcastle, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Newcastle, Weston County, Wyoming, Chapter 4, Section 4-4.2 of the Newcastle, Wyoming Municipal Code shall be and hereby is amended to read in complete form as follows. And we changed the $10 down section 4-4.2, line D, we changed the $10 to $50. And we added C, animals are not permitted on the premises of the sports complex, OC Kearney Field, subject to exemption funds in the subsection B above. Those were the only two changes there.
I think there was, the last time we were here, I think I inserted owns instead of has a registered, so.
Okay, so number 4.
Yeah,
Okay, so owns, a person who owns a registered service animal as defined under the applicable laws of the state of Wyoming. Do we have a motion for second reading?
I move we pass it on the second reading, no?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second, or any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Second reading passed. Thank you. All
I
right,
think those folks on the.
old business, are they there?
Didn't work.
Are they?
Yeah, they're here.
Okay. Okay, so old business number 2, Newcastle Ambulance Service. Can you guys hear us?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes. Maybe. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Okay.
Yeah, for no reason, it's not leaving.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. We just wanted to kind of stay updated communicate with you guys, on what changes you have made and how much, progress you've made from the last time that we've all met.
Okay, and I understand that Stacy printed you guys off everything that we had sent you, including kind of an email synopsis of all the things we've been working on, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So really that email serves as I guess, a point where we're at today. We obviously had a focused effort on increasing our marketing for both our EMS classes that start in August and our job posting for the Newcastle operations. The best update there is we have received 2 applications from people who live in Newcastle, and they'll be scheduled for interviews. I think July 20th is the next round of interviews that we're doing.
That's great.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Do they have experience?
I haven't seen the applications yet. I know Shauna Goldmore, the manager, she received them and has reviewed them, but I'm not sure of their level of experience yet.
Okay.
And then beyond that, we, like the email said, we're gonna be in town next week to hand out some of the flyers that were attached to that email. We'll post those several locations around town, and then we'll be hosting what we're calling a lunch and learn at Isabella's on the 21st of July from 11 to 1. And our goal there is to have anyone who's interested, either in our EMT classes or our job postings, who've seen all of the marketing we've been trying to do, or who we've met in person, say next week when we're over there, to really sit down with us. We can explain everything from, the job to the shifts, what our classes look like if we don't have an EMS license, pay, benefits, all that sort of thing.
That's cool.
Based on the materials that you handed out, or Clerk Haggerty handed out, it looks like you've been really hitting a lot of platforms and really spreading the word and trying to get people recruited. I mean, some of those platforms are nationwide, aren't they?
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear the last part of your sentence. Some of those platforms are
Nationwide.
Thank you, Bruce.
yes. And I apologize. I should have made it. Sitting directly behind me is our Chief Nursing Officer, Natalie Tucker. She was at the meeting we were at in May. And then our Marketing Director is Bree Richardson. And if you don't mind, I would just let her explain all the marketing and where and some of the feedback that we've gotten from that. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, and nice to meet you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us on tonight. I'm pleased to be a part of this and answer any questions that you have about any of the deployments of campaigns that either recruitment or our department in marketing have done. Just based on the need of EMS and the concerns and the feedback that you all provided, Chris and team have collaborated really well with us, and so we made a very concerted effort to make sure that we're touching your local newspaper news source. We contacted the Chamber of Commerce, and I don't have a great point of contact, so if anybody has a name, that would be great. We would love to partner with them and collaborate to be more a part of the community and make sure that we're involved in any events that you have going on in person. We are utilizing our platforms, social media, primarily Facebook is one of the big hitters that we see the most results from. We utilize Instagram, we utilize LinkedIn, and then also we run ads. Those are very targeted ads, and so those are your demographics, kind of an age group based on search engine optimization. So people that are looking specifically for EMS work or specific hashtags, those algorithms will push our ads for either job recruitment or course information to those. And so we actually just recently, last week, once we looked at some of the data analytics, we focused some of those efforts just about 50 miles outwards. So we're covering Chadron, Rapid City, kind of gathering some of that work pool as well to be considered either for full-time or a PRN status, which we found would be very beneficial to that program. And so some of the data, if you look at the third or fourth page, is that social post performance. And this is just a screenshot we pulled from May 22nd when we deployed to current, and I did about every 10 days. So it looks at impressions. Again, those are the number of times that the content that we're rolling out either on ad space, social tiles, and things like that we can actually track. We can pull those, and you can see that the impressions increased to almost 180 people that it was that there was touch points in. And then engagements are things like shares, likes, they click on the link to pursue it further, they head over to the recruitment page, so we can track some of that stuff, and all of it is progressively increasing. And then on the bottom there, you see our reach. Again, we felt like we could probably capture some of maybe in the Rapid City market. We wanted to go west of Gillette, so we just expanded that out about 50 miles so that we were capturing a larger audience. As far as recruitment efforts, we can deploy not just through Indeed, which is a frequent and popular search engine, but we can utilize different interfaces kind of as a hub. So we'll deploy any of those job recs, and then anybody that's interested, clicks, likes, things like that, we can see if there's engagement and which ones of those are performing well for us. So we basically just mass distribute that, and you're right, it is a national approach. If somebody's looking to come over to Wyoming or looking for a good fit, they're going to be able to see this in their searches as well. We are deploying some physical flyers. We have some good contacts with our business development and recruitment personnel. They will be over in town next week and then also into Upton, making sure that they're shaking hands with business owners, asking for support, ways to elicit some of those applications, or if people are interested in participating in the courses that we're offering in August. And the neat thing about that is it's partially remote, partially in person, and I think the appeal for people that don't live in Gillette, this may entice them to apply to that, and we're hoping to gather those individuals that are interested at that lunch and learn. They'll have lunch on us and then ask questions, and we can be able to answer those or guide them through those applications as well.
I have a
letter, the journal, the local newspaper, we're running paper, color ads, a quarter page. We've done that for the last 3 weeks, and we'll continue to do so.
I'm
sorry.
That's all right. It's hard to speak remotely sometimes. I have a contact number for the board chairman of the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
His name is Henry Nessel.
And what was the last name again?
Nessel, Nesssul.
Awesome. Okay.
And his number is area code 240 793 4665.
Fantastic. That will be very helpful. I appreciate that.
Yeah, anytime.
And we'll try to set something up that when business development's over there next week, they can meet him in person and understand what events are coming up that we can participate in as well.
What charges are there for your school, if any?
And
Can you say that again?
What charges do you have for these students, if you have any at all?
For classes.
Oh, so the classes range in about $1,000 for books, instructor time and all that. And then our healthcare coalition, which serves the 5-county region, including Weston County, offers scholarships to attend that class. And then
Who offers a scholarship? Say that again.
the Region 1 Healthcare Coalition, which Weston County is a part of. So any student who lives in Weston County, Campbell, Crook, or Johnson can apply for scholarships to help either pay for the entire class or offset the cost of the class. And then we are also working with our Human Resources Department that if there's a student who takes the class, passes it successfully, and also that makes it through our hiring process, if they were to accept a job with us, we're working with them on what either reimbursements for the class that we can provide for them, or even a sign-on bonus, since those jobs are considered hard to fill in the Newcastle area.
Okay.
And they could use that money to help offset and pay for the cost of the class.
Very good, thank you.
You bet. That class, just so you know, the one that we're offering in August, is a 6-month class. That's to get your EMT license. It's about 150 to 180 hours of training. And it'll be 2 nights a week with some Saturdays as well for those in-person portions that Bree mentioned earlier. So it's a lot of hours, a lot of time for the student and the instructors, but they'll come out of that class with their EMT license so long as they can pass the final test.
And people from here have a 140-mile round trip, 3 times a week to get there.
No, they would attend virtually, just like we're doing now.
Okay?
That's the great thing about these courses is the state EMS office has authorized virtual attendance.
Very good.
For all EMS classes across the state.
So they would have to attend for practicals? Or do you guys?
Yeah, so,
Or we?
What we would be willing to do is, for their practicals, like they can do their emergency department time, they could do it either in Gillette, or we can set up a site agreement with Weston County Health Services for their emergency department. Their EMS ride time would obviously be with us. They could do that in Newcastle, or they could do that in Gillette. Most students want to go to a quote-unquote busy area, and so they may do a couple shifts in Newcastle, either at the hospital or the ambulance, then come over to Gillette and do a couple. Because the whole goal is to really get them exposed to as many calls and patients and procedures and things like that during that training time so that they are well-rounded and versed in those skills. So we'll offer them to do ride time clinicals at either location.
Okay. That's great. I'm glad to see that there's some momentum.
Yeah, it's, I hope for more than just 2 applications, but that's a start. We'll definitely take it.
Are there any other avenues on behalf of marketing improvement that have ideas or feedback that we could try, or things you'd like to see enhanced?
When I was in the National Guard, I was at a medical unit that was based in Cheyenne, Wyoming at Warren Air Force Base. I don't know if there's still a medical unit, but I think that if we find medical units and people who love being a medic, I'd like to see you try to get in contact maybe with some of those people, because as they get out of the military, as it stands now, at least as it stood when I got out of the military, it wasn't worth spit. I had to start all over again.
That was 100 years.
You know, and even though they called me doc and I sewed people up and gave shots and did all kinds of things, it wasn't worth spit when you got in the real world, as they call the real world. But anyway, contact those people, I think.
And unfortunately, that's still the case. That transition from military medicine to civilian medicine, the folks in charge at the National Registry of EMTs still make military medics or foremen, things like that, will still make them take the EMT class to get a license.
That's a big mistake.
Yeah, I would agree. I wish they would recognize that prior experience and qualification.
But
I mean, I think that it would be important to let them challenge the test or something, so that they could kind of expedite the process. Maybe that's something that we should, raise cane with the state legislature, and maybe Wyoming would be willing to do something like that.
Yeah, definitely up to so all the states, like Wyoming, that are part of National Registry, they obviously have to meet the requirements of the National Registry, both from an education and testing standpoint. And so we really have to push it kind of at that national level to then get it adopted, at the state level. If Wyoming's going to continue to accept National Registry for licensing.
Well, we could be talking about this for another 10 years then, before something actually happens.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I thank you for the update. Does anybody else have any more questions?
No, it seems like you guys have been really trying to market your service and try to round up people that are interested in applying, so I appreciate that.
You bet. Yeah, we are definitely trying. It's a struggle to find what our goal is, because said in that email is we'd like to have a total of 8 full-time people who live in Newcastle and then 24-ish total PRN employees that live in Newcastle. I think that's going to be a stretch for a goal. I think it's going to take several months to years to get there. But I'm hoping that, through these continued efforts, through getting the schools and putting on these classes, that slowly but surely we'll be able to increase our numbers of employees that live over there.
Have you guys discussed since our last meeting about hiring drivers?
Yep, we have, and you guys kind of talked about it in your budget meeting a couple weeks ago, a little bit in the meeting prior to that meeting. But those drivers, again, those are people who have no medical experience or training, and that's the need to have 2 people on a truck, since that's all you have. The need for those people to both be licensed and able to provide care is absolutely critical. And that's both in the 911 arena or in that inter-facility transfer. Because again, to shoulder patient care, especially on someone who's really critically ill or critically injured, to have only one person be able to legally to provide that care, that's a stretch. And that essentially reduces our staffing on ambulance, obviously by 50%. Only one person can legally provide care. And so we've chosen not to go that route. What's that? I thought someone said something, I apologize. We've chosen not to go that route because in talking with the crews and thinking about it as a leadership team, it's too big of a hit to our ability to provide care back in the ambulance.
Thank you.
I got a question, I guess, in on that one. So typically you'd only have 2 people in a bus then, right? And both of them would be EMT or paramedic level, right?
Yep.
So if one's driving, how are you gonna give the care with the driver? And you're still just got your person in the back that's giving the care. I guess I'm not seeing that picture. The only way you're gonna give care for that driver is gonna pull on the side of the road to give that extra care.
So it's all of the care that's provided on the scene to that patient from inside the house or inside the car or next to the road. It's all the care that's provided there. Both partners are simultaneously providing care and doing different things. And that helps that care happen faster when 2 people can take essentially a list of things that need to happen. They can both simultaneously work on that task to get them done. When those things are done, then we put them in the back of the ambulance and transport them. And so really it's for that duration of the transport to the hospital. Sometimes a couple minutes if it's in town, sometimes it might be longer if it's out of town. That's the only time we have one person back in the ambulance. But then again, if that patient were to go south, turn the corner, get sicker, and that truck pulls over, then that other person jumps in the back and can provide care to help get them stabilized again so we can continue the transport. The worst case scenario is like CPR. And imagine only one person being able to provide CPR, having to do the compressions, the medications, the IVs, the airway. We just can't do it with one person. 2 people is a stretch. We certainly can't do it all with one person. The inter-facility transfer environment, where we take patients from one hospital to the next, it's a little bit better there because generally they're stabilized enough for transport. But obviously, same scenario, if that patient turns the corner and gets much sicker, becomes unstable. Having 2 people to provide that care, whether it's resuscitation, you name it.
I think in past conversations, that was just one of the big concerns was inter-facility transfers, not having drivers available. So, it was a suggestion so that we could try to figure out a way to get your ambulance staffed so that the inter-facility transfers would happen more quickly. That was just one of our big community concerns, and that's why we brought it up, in meetings past.
Yep. No, I certainly understand that and appreciate it. And I know the idea, the last meeting we were there in person, was, if you had two drivers, you got a transfer, both drivers could show up, one could go on the transfer, one could stay back for the 911 call, and we essentially have two crews. But that puts us right back into this position of, especially on that 911 truck, now you only have one licensed provider that can provide care on whatever that next call is that comes up.
So we just really need to hope that these two applicants are qualified so that we can get some staff in here serving.
Yep. The one thing that I will mention is we did, starting yesterday, we added another truck into our system. Of course, it's based here out of Gillette, but that truck is now an additional capacity we've added to the system that can go anywhere it's needed to provide backup to answer additional 911 calls. One of the functions we have out there for that is when Newcastle's ambulance goes out, whether it's 911 or an inter-facility transfer, that truck will start heading that way. And the nice thing about that is it'll reduce the amount of times that we have all the ambulances in Gillette minute calls, where we have to say, okay, we'll be there in an hour or two because we have to clear this 911 call. We have that extra capacity in our system to help ensure we can do transfers more reliably and consistently out of Weston County Health Services. I know it's not the backup truck in town, but it's, in my opinion, a nice way to bridge the gap until we can get like these two applicants and hopefully a lot more through our education, through the EMT class, hired on, trained up, ready to go.
So I've been doing a little bit of research about, kind of the conundrum that we have here. Because we've all voiced our concerns about, the way that we were treated by Newcastle Ambulance in the past versus the care that you're able to provide at this juncture. But would it be your personal opinion, or would you agree that trying to get some sort of an ambulance district formed for our county would be a step in the right direction?
I believe from a funding standpoint, that is a really good option to pursue. That I don't know what your assessed valuation is, what the revenue into the county for that ambulance district would be. But that is one of the main reasons we and like the Wyoming EMS Association and others push for that statute to be passed is most of everyone's biggest issue is funding. And I know, Madam Mayor, you talked about different funding models, private versus public, and which ones receive tax dollars and which ones don't. And most every service in Wyoming, if not all of them, are a hybrid of a public-private model. And that's where public tax dollars are raised and they're given as either a stipend or they're given like we have. They're given as part of a contract that says, hey, we'll pay you X amount of dollars to come over here and run an ambulance service because we can't or don't have the means to do it. And all of those public-private hybrid models, it's always coming down to money, whether the governing bodies or the funding entities don't have enough cash, the hospital doesn't have enough cash, the ambulance service is having a hard time breaking even or making a profit to be sustainable. And so I do believe from a funding standpoint that model for that district, would be a good thing to try to get implemented. I believe I heard at one point it's about $440,000 at your current valuation, which again, that's about half of what it takes to staff a paramedic ambulance 24/7, 365. It's about 2/3 of what it would take to staff a BLS ambulance. So it certainly wouldn't cover all the cost and give you, excess money to reinvest. But that's a big chunk of change that makes an ambulance service sustainable. Especially when you look at offsetting capital costs and things like that.
Thank you.
You bet. Yeah, I would definitely support that in Weston County.
Any other questions for the ambulance? Do you have any questions for us?
I do not. I appreciate the FaceTime with you guys. Certainly would like to continue doing this more. I know Terrell had talked about last meeting, not hearing from us. I just wanted to confirm that I had sent emails to you, Madam Mayor, to that email address. I believe it's mayor@cityofnewcastle. And don't know if you got those or not, but I wanted to provide you guys monthly updates, whether it's by email or I join virtually like this, just on our status of our call volumes, our transports, our hiring, our recruitment efforts. And then certainly I would still like for you guys to consider joining us for the quarterly updates that we do at the hospital in person over there. We were there at the end of May, and it was just us in the hospital. I don't know how well that was communicated to by the hospital as far as the date and time, but they schedule those meetings and invite us. And so if you guys are amicable to that, I would appreciate it. One or two of you attending, obviously you wouldn't want a quorum, but I really think those quarterly updates, we can have a lot of good discussion about where we're at, what we're doing, how you guys can help. The hospital, last time we met with their new CEO, Dr. Judd Dawson, he expressed empathy for the position we're in. Says, we're in the same boat as everybody else. It's in rural healthcare, whether it's an ambulance service or a hospital. They're committed to helping us any way they can to make sure we stay sustainable over there. So I'd really like to have a few of you at that table to just have a really good discussion about EMS and where we're headed and how we make it work over there.
I think that would be great, but I know that they had a little bit of a concern about HIPAA. If you guys needed to talk about cases. So I can't remember what Angela and myself talked about, but I think with having Dr. Dawson there, we could speak with him and maybe get something worked out to where we can attend.
Yeah, well, and certainly we can have two different portions of the meeting, one where we talk about just operations, but the three parties there, and then if we get into case reviews, then you guys can excuse yourselves from the meeting,
Okay.
and we can talk about those without you there, but we wouldn't have to worry about HIPAA at all.
Perfect. That'd be great.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much for taking the time to meet with us, and you guys have a great evening and stay forth.
Yep, you guys too, happy 4th of July. Thanks for letting us attend virtually, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet.
But there's just so much stuff I find so humorous in these meetings. But a lot of that is because of how much, and I'm going to be very frank on this, how much idiocy happens. And I sit there going, you got kidding.
No, that's ignorant.
and I zip it, but I still get that chuckle sometimes through. And that's hard to not have in those videos sometimes.
And I didn't have the chuckle, I had the eye roll and the head shake.
Oh, I still probably have that. You just don't get to see it on camera.
All right. Old business, Church on the Hill, abandonment of easement.
I did not get with interim engineer Bartlett today. I have to report on it next week.
Okay. So we'll table that. Joint powers dispatch agreement. So we all have a copy in front of us.
This is the same agreement that we received at the meeting at county.
I think there were so few edits, they were basically grammatical. I don't recall, I don't think there was anything actually substantial in there that the Attorney General's office actually changed.
Did you read this over? Would you like to see it?
Sure.
Do you have one?
I've got some extra.
Okay. I'd like the chief to read it and be comfortable before we say we're comfortable.
Be a good idea.
So we might have to table this too.
I don't know. I think the intent was for that, but I read it and I think the only issues that they had was, there was a word that was OARD, which is supposed to be board, and then, the statutes from, I think it was like 15.1 or something to 105 to something at all was incorrect. It actually started at another one, but the Attorney General's office is actually pretty notorious for being nitpicky about things, so.
And those were the only two things that they came up with?
They said it was good. Jeannie said that they said it was good. I actually didn't see the email other than one email that the Attorney General sent back that basically said this is fine. Once the councils and the commissioners sign, then you'll have to send it back and they will sign it off, and then that's the starting date of when the Joint Powers Board is actually codified with the political subdivision of the state.
Give me some time to look at that.
That's fine.
Okay. So we'll move on to website, since, Chief is gonna read that over. So we met with Bob Bonner and we met with Jen Womack over the websites. I loved Jen's presentation.
Your Honor, may I move that we accept
What?
Jen Womack proposal for this website?
Can you just let her talk? Just let her talk.
Well, I moved it, nobody seconded it.
I think she was talking about something. Why don't you finish?
That's okay. Well,
You have to go to discussion, is why I made the motion.
yeah, so,
Oh, I don't think we got that far, did we?
nobody second.
I know, but you were talking about something.
I was just saying, I really liked Jen's presentation. I did some work myself with her on some things, and I know she helps the Chamber's website. I looked at Douglas's website. A lot of the stuff that she said that she worked on, I kind of played around on, and they were very friendly, user-friendly, colorful, not boring. I really enjoyed looking at the sites that she made. I guess is what I'm saying.
I think Erin has said that she's done some stuff for the school that's very, very good too.
The thing I like is with Bonner, it goes in the front door and out the back door and goes to Colorado.
Well, it's happened 50-50.
Yeah,
So,
but 50-50 him and 50-50 her,
Right.
and they're both in Colorado.
yeah, this all goes to.
This comes out in our state, in our city, and it's spent here, and she pays taxes here.
Well, and she's right here. I mean,
Yeah.
if we have questions, she's right
And
here.
if we make an operator error, she can fix it right away.
Right.
We don't have to try to make phone calls and get a hold of
Right.
someone remotely.
And I'm sure they would be very good at that too, but they're not right here.
But what I was gonna say is I did miss the first 10-15 minutes of what Bob Bonner had, so I kind of walked in towards the end of it, so I didn't really get a good intake for myself to make any positive or negative thoughts on it, besides the fact that he gets 50% and the company gets 50%. So it's still leaving our area, it's not staying local. So that's the only thing I can say about that. And I'm sure, so that's all I got to say about it.
That was very nice input by you all, I just don't see why it couldn't have happened after the second of the motion.
Because no one made a second.
I know that, that's what all those people agree with the motion, they could have said, I second it.
Do we feel like we're ready to make a motion, or do people have more questions that we need to ask these presenters, or go for it, make a motion?
What part of the budget is the website gonna come out of?
Come out of city budget, right?
The majority of it will come out of City Hall. We may, take a little chunk from water and sewer, but it wouldn't, the majority will come out of the general fund.
And the water and sewers because they can make their payments online.
Yeah,
So-
have some functions.
So it's not like we're just taking funds from another, it's for a reason.
I wasn't here for Bob's presentation in Pennsylvania during that time, so I don't know what his was, with what I seen with Momac's presentation, I was the same way. Thinking we need to keep it local. She's here, we're able to either walk in or go talk to her.
Walk down the street and say, hey.
With Bob Bonner's presentation, she did most of the talking, and he said that 50% of it's his and 50% of it's hers. So all of the money that goes into it would stay in Colorado and get spent down there.
What was the difference in cost between the two? I don't remember.
Jen is more, I think by
Yeah, the-
1,000.
No,
For sagebrush marketing, it's pretty much a setup fee of $5,250, and then $150 each month for website hosting and maintenance and changes and all that. The Ascent Digital or Bob's was $4,900 for a setup fee, and then $69 a month.
Oh, big difference.
So it's quite a bit cheaper. I mean, some.
What,
$80.
what do you feel? Because you guys are gonna be the office that's probably gonna be working with it the most.
I'm comfortable with either. I think both of them would be very good and very, I think, pretty hands-on, and seemed like both were, willing to train us to make the changes versus having to wait for them. And I don't know if Public Works or the Police Department feels any different.
I agree.
So it all boils down to whether we think that we're keeping the funding in Wyoming or we go with the cheaper option and then half of it's going to Colorado. But the check's payable to the Newsletter Journal. Isn't that what he told us at the presentation?
Mm-hmm, he sure did.
So he said he was gonna keep it local, that was going to the Newsletter Journal. But he also said that 50% of it was going to the consultant in
See all
Colorado.
those people down there, and there's some people doing the work live down there.
I'm for sagebrush. Anybody want to make a motion this evening, or
Tom did.
I made my motion.
you want to make it now?
I move, Your Honor, that we accept Jen Womack's sagebrush marketing proposal to operate, to design and operate our website as proposed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion?
Yes, now I would like to talk about this until 9:30.
I'm leaving at 9 because it's supposed to storm.
So, I mean, again, this was my first term as a council person. But aren't we obligated to go with, the lowest bidder?
No, we're not.
So we could have always hired like the best construction company and not gone low bid.
There are certain rules that go in on the construction piece. In-state bidders, I believe, have a preference, and a 5% preference piece of that from an out-of-state.
And a lot of the time when you have a bid, that you have to look at it that way, it's over what,
35,000.
35,000?
Yeah.
So this isn't really one of those that we would have
We're
a,
only spending whatever.
any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, will you get in contact with her?
And I want to say thank you. It's very exciting to maybe work on something nice. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Something fun. All right, moving on to department heads, City Attorney Dublin Hughes.
Only thing I have tonight, Madam Mayor, is if the joint powers dispatch agreement is signed, the county will be having their meeting, I believe it's Wednesday. Upton's already signed.
Yep, and I do have that too.
And so if everyone signs, then it will have to go back down to the Attorney General's office, which I wasn't under the impression that was the case, but apparently if they make any sort of edits, even grammar edits, they want it back so that they know that they're not basically getting, things added into an agreement that end up becoming problematic. So that's just basically an update on that. But seeing how quickly their turnaround was, it actually was, I think we sent that off, what would that have been? The 22nd, and they returned it by the 28th or something to that effect, I think.
So is this something that we could make a motion on if the chief is 100% okay with it?
Yeah.
Then
Then
we'll
you
sign?
would be able to sign it, yes.
Okay, so if someone wants to make that motion.
Well, Chief, are you comfortable with it?
I just have one thing is when we were discussing who was gonna pick the initial two other people for the 5-panel board, I was under the impression that it was gonna be one, city council member from our town, one from Upton, and then one commissioner.
Right.
And in here, it almost sounds like there's gonna be that, but then also representatives from the fire district and EMS.
That was the email I had with Gene today. I think in between the discussions that we had, what had happened is that at least the intent, I think we had intended to basically appoint someone from the council as one of the at-large elector board, basically is what it was supposed to be called, or something like that, right? And I don't know if that just was forgotten about or what it was, but now that I'm thinking of it, having you and Sheriff Colbard and Chief Bridge as the at-large, I actually do like that more than I would like randomly being picked every year or 2 years.
No, not that part.
No, it was, I think what he's saying is that it was
The
supposed to
initial
be a council member from Upton, a council member from Newcastle, and a commissioner to interview the two at large to appoint, or interview those who apply to be those at large members.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a 5-person board.
Yes.
It is.
You, Chief Bridge, and the sheriff, there's 3 positions.
And then we have 2 that we have to pick.
Right,
And so-
but this is saying that fire and EMS will be involved as well.
Yeah,
So
so,
came up at the end of the meeting.
yeah, and that was the thing, so under that paragraph specifically, what ends up happening is that you 3, instead of having a council member be there as the person picking with the EMS and with the fire district, whoever that would end up being, it would just be you 3, right? That's the switch, at least under that language. Now, that could have just been a mistake because we talked about it, but I don't know if we ever got to the point of where anyone was very set in stone on how that at-large elector board was gonna be.
I can see this over here.
Okay.
Cause I thought, okay.
Yeah.
Being that there's been a concern brought forward, is this something that we're gonna need to revisit before we can continue?
Yeah. So it says one.
Oh, ask him it.
I wonder if Fox just thought of it.
Like a decision of one member of the commission. Three
bags.
Up to the council, representative from the fire district and EMS.
So those 5 people
Not
picked.
receiving applications.
Do we have to pay for it tomorrow, or is it free?
Yeah.
Is it 4th of July yet?
And the remaining 2 members so there's 2 boards. think that's what everyone's mixing up.
So are they saying that the commissioner, council member, and someone from fire and EMS are gonna be the ones that appoint, not the two
Yeah,
chiefs?
that's simple five.
So it's the remaining two members of the joint powers
Apple
board.
pie.
So you already have the chiefs, right? The chiefs are already on the joint powers board. And then the intent is to have the two at-large members, right? The remaining two members of the joint powers board shall be appointed by a collective decision from one member of the commission, county, the Newcastle Council, Upton Council, representative from the fire district, and EMS, after receiving applications for the positions and conducting
So
interviews.
the two chiefs and the sheriff aren't involved in the?
We were, I don't think, ever involved in that.
No.
We wanted the two cities and the county and have three people, interview who, you know, people
So,
from
but
the,
now it's 5 people.
Actually, now that I read that, the way that Jeannie says that, that's not it. It says from the council, the commission, and the Upton excuse me.
but I mean, if
Upton
you read
Council.
that, I think it's saying that there's representatives
Oh, this is the one.
Yeah.
from the
this
fire
is-
district and from EMS,
The
along
way
with
that he's talking about it.
the council and the commissions
Yeah,
to make the
Because
decision.
it doesn't say you in there.
yeah, I said.
Because she emailed me today and said that it was gonna be, the chiefs. I'm just gonna say this quickly, the chiefs and the sheriff deciding on who the EMS representative was going to be and then who the fire district was going to be. But that language, that's for sure stating someone from the councils and the commission. So that might be something we discuss with her on Wednesday. Because I don't think that's, the way that that's spoken, I mean, obviously the attorney generals are fine with it, it's just, we need to be clear on what that is.
Okay, so we're gonna hold off then? Or do we still make a motion to that she could?
Let's just make I'll ask the council to, if they would make a motion to accept the joint powers board and give the mayor the ability to sign this agreement pending an email from the chief stating that we've cleared up basically the ambiguities of what I'll call the at-large elective board.
So
moved.
on first section.
Second.
So we have a motion and second, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay.
I think it's positive that we did this because we need to maintain this momentum.
Yeah.
I don't wanna see this stall out, I wanna see something get
Put it on
done.
the sideboard again, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that threw me for a loop that the attorney general's had to see it again, so
Anything else?
nothing further.
Okay, any questions for city attorney? Okay. City clerk treasurer Stacy?
Okay, we had received the check from the Wyoming Community Gas for $5,332.30. Those are funds that were voted on and allocated back in October for funding $1,500 to an electronic speed limit sign and Christmas decorations for $3,832.30. And then I sent out budget numbers. Did anybody have any questions or concerns on any of those?
But when does this fiscal year end, if you just send us the
It's
numbers?
already ended.
It technically,
It just did, right?
Yeah, July 1st was the first. Yeah, sorry.
no, we do still have probably some expenses from invoices that I haven't received yet that would have been billed out in June.
But according to this, we came in pretty good then. We're under budget and those things.
We're looking okay, yes.
Would you
And-
explain the part about the money that was set offside for the sewer thing?
Yeah, so we have back in, was it 1980-ish, that they started setting funds aside for the lagoon, and it went for 19 years. And so that money has been sitting in one of the accounting line items. And so I just moved that over to where it didn't look like our sewer fund was overspent.
Very good. That was
The
a
money that was set aside was for the purpose of maintenance of the lagoon. EPA required that. A county setup. Pretty common thing anymore. But, yeah, we used it basically for what it was intended.
It's kind of like Christmas.
Good thing we did, because that was $800,000 or more that
Yeah.
we wouldn't have had there to cover
So
that.
is that
Yeah.
something they need
That's what we
to
should
start
continue
again?
to do,
Yeah.
right? That's what I
would
think.
recommend to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So
Because with.
Right.
we still
some of the
have
stuff
that line
in
item,
the
right?
sewer system now,
So is there somewhere in his budget he can move money to get it started, or?
I will look at that.
Okay.
Stacy, how much a year did we put into that fund, do you remember?
I believe it was like $20,000. I'll have to look back at that ordinance in the timeline, but I believe it was $20,000.
Will we need a new ordinance to keep, or a new motion to keep up paying it?
Well, she was gonna look and see about moving, like where she would move funds from to keep it going. So just let us know next meeting. Okay, anything else?
I have nothing else.
Any other questions for city clerk? Public Works Supervisor Greg Stump?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Where's that?
First thing, Wyatt Ivy has completed his probationary period. I would recommend him for a permanent employee with a 50-cent raise, effective June 21st.
I would move that Wyatt Ivy, receive permanent employment with the city and, get a 50-cent raise.
From June 21st.
Effective
June 21st.
June 21st.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Wyatt's an awesome kid. I gotta work with him around at the shop, and he's a hard worker.
He's really shaped up the cemetery. He's got a lot of heart and soul into it, so.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay.
Thank you. The South Summit Avenue water main replacement project. The alley's going to be closed for about 2 weeks. So we'd like to move the garbage cans out of the alleys into the streets temporarily so we can access them while the Cedar Street section is closed and while the Oak section is closed. So if you don't mind, we'll hand out notices this week and start that next week.
Be sure you make sure that you note on there that it is a temporary basis, so that it might get alley, if it doesn't get moved back to the alley.
Otherwise, we gotta pull cans out of the alleys to the
Right.
streets, and then it really gets to be a mess, so. The consumer confidence report, we finally got it done, finalized and sent in at the wire, not under the wire very much. With that, we have the notice of violation that we have to do for the synthetic organic compounds. My recommendation, it's not something we do normally, but with the notice of violation, we're required to send those out to each and every individual. As part of this, I would recommend we send the CCR with the notice of violation to all our customers, water customers within the system. So, it's going to cost a little more money than normal, but with the public notification requirements EPA has, it's probably the easiest way to get the information out there. This is kind of a big deal. They changed the rules on us, changed how we sampled in the last round. It's my fault, I didn't catch it. We were supposed to sample 2 times in 1 calendar year in 2 different quarters for synthetic organic compounds. Prior to that, we always only had to sample once. But we did fail to monitor, so we do have a public notice to handle.
I don't think we really stand a chance of failing. It's just kind of frivolous. We have really awesome water.
All the samples I went back and looked at, there's nothing detected. So I don't know why EPA is requiring it.
Because they can.
They're requiring quarterly sampling for now till they say quit for xylene samples, well, 4 only. I have no idea why.
Which one's well for?
Well, for is one by the shop, so. But if it's okay with the council, we'll get mailing out to all the customers with public notice. Anybody that has any questions about the public notice, let me know. It's for failure monitor, because we didn't monitor it twice in one calendar year in 2 separate quarters. So. I guess the rest of the stuff we'll probably talk about during the committee reports.
Okay, is the, would that also have the backup that just happened in there?
What's that? No.
Okay, so,
Public notification is strictly just for that.
okay, so the, backup issue that we had, you were gonna, there was another county that had something, some kind of ordinance about the disposable wipes and,
Casper, City of Casper has voluntarily gave us everything we want to do a public service announcement. They have a really good no wipes in the pipes program. They said we can use any of their information, we can use any of their artwork, it doesn't matter, we can use it. We're going to put together a public service announcement, probably several of them, and try and get the information out about these. Both the February 7th and the June plug up in Gray Edition was due to wipes primarily.
He's got some god-awful pictures of it.
well, it's not gonna stop, but,
We've pulled stuff out of sewers that were never intended to be in there. We've pulled medical waste, we've pulled hypodermic needles, we've pulled
transmission,
parts. I mean, yeah. Railroad ties, levers, all kinds of stuff. They cause backups. So that's right.
That on internet might not stop, but if you provide public notice and public notification and education, then hopefully it'll slow down.
well, I know, that's why I brought it up, I'm hoping that it will help, because we can put it on the city site too.
Clerk Haggerty is working with me on that and her staff, so we'll get something put together. Well 5 project, we're doing the final completion walkthrough Thursday at 11 o'clock. We finally got water out of that well. It's going into the system.
Hey,
How long has that been, really?
7 years since we drilled it. Well, 7.5 years since we drilled it.
Yeah.
So we had some hiccups here at the end. They had come back this weekend and turn the meter around. But we are actually getting water out of it. We'll send in the necessary documents for the beneficial use to the state engineer's office. In March, I sent in a change order form to add well 5 to our EPA inventory. They still haven't changed it. Wednesday, I'm gonna send them a second notice saying we want this changed, we need this added, so they don't come back on us and say, write it down. So, we are working towards that.
Good.
Add a fine to them for, $100 a day to them.
We'll have to. Definitely, can we get that, yeah?
If they don't respond.
Other than that, anybody have any questions from the public works reports or project reports?
Were we gonna talk at all about the streets meeting we had?
When we get to standing committees. When we get down to standing committees. Okay, any other questions for city supervisor? Okay. Police chief Chuck?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a couple things. We are getting fairly close to moving all of our stuff over to the new PD. We're having a few construction things done, finished up there. But we have the most of the IT stuff done now. So we should be, hopefully be getting all moved in there in the next few weeks. One thing I was going to say about the EMS, and I've been kind of vocal about We had a call, I think a week and a half ago or so, where a juvenile male was unconscious and not breathing. And I think it was an EMT and paramedic, did a phenomenal job. And it took 4 of us working on this kid for about a half hour. And he was, in my opinion, he was dead. And they got him to the hospital and he started breathing. So the medical staff that was on that ambulance that day did a phenomenal job. And you guys should be aware of that. So.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief? Okay. Standing committee reports. I have something before we go into the committee reports. I did make some changes to the standing committees. So under police committee, it's Don Stevenson, Ann McCauley, and Tom Boss. Personnel finance committee is Darren Downs, Ann McCauley, Don Stevenson. Water Sewer Committee is Don Stevenson, Tyrell Owens, Tom Boss. Streets Alley Building Committees is Darren Downs, John Butts, Tom Boss. Sanitation Committee, Appearance Committee, Community Appearance is Ty Owens, John Butts, Darren Downs. Park Cemetery Recreation Committee is John Butts, Tyrell Owens, and Ann McCauley. And Land Committee is all council as needed. So all of you should have 3 committees. And there you go. All right, sorry. So you met with,
Which one do we want to go with first?
I don't care.
Probably the streets is the longest one.
Okay.
We met and discussed several things. First, the crosswalk at Stampede Street. If we put a crosswalk up by the middle school, we will have to build a handicap accessible ADA compliant ramp going onto the sidewalk. We're looking probably $2,000, not including signage. The other option is we put signs up at the sidewalks at the middle school telling them to use the crosswalk at Main Street, which would be the cheaper option.
And you could always have the school do that as well.
It would save us about $2,000 and redoing the sidewalk and curb gutter, stuff like that, so.
Could we try that route first and see?
That was the committee's recommendation. We discussed the bicycles, and the recommendation from the committee is to put up signs telling them to walk their bikes down Main Street on the sidewalks, not ride. That way we get them off out of the traffic and out of the lane of travel for the vehicle, but still safe for pedestrians coming out of buildings. They put out a traffic plan, parking plan, if you like that, the second page is actually what's already there on South Seneca from Main Street. Wentworth Street is already diagonal parking on the east side of the road. We added one more handicap accessible parking space there as well. The first page on North Seneca Avenue between Warwick and West Main is what we would be changing. We'd like to put diagonal parking on the east side of North Seneca, which would add 2 handicap parking spaces. with widening the handicap parking space out 5 feet for ADA compliance, we would gain around 10 parking spaces along that section. Right now, it's parallel parking, and I believe in the ordinances, it is identified as parallel. We would have to have an ordinance change, I believe, to change that to diagonal parking. I don't remember which one it was, but I was looking at it today, and we got busy on other stuff,
So will there be, on Main Street, remember we talked about making the lines like Hill City does? Are we still able to do that, or is that going to be highway department?
I've got to talk to the highway department to make sure we have permission to do that. And I put in the call to Scott Taylor, I would do that. Thursday, Friday, and today, there was nobody in the office but us, I think, so.
Okay. I think that's great.
This is our recommendation to help alleviate some of the parking issues down Main Street. Like I said, we'd add 10 parking places to what we currently have.
Now, well, because I know there's a lot of delivery semis that come in, are they still gonna have room to go in those alleys? Because I know Healthy Food, My Place, and Curly Q's, we all have big trucks that come in. Will they still be able to do their turning and?
I don't foresee that much parking when they're going to be delivering down by the Methodist Church. I could see where they could swing it wider there and get into the alleys.
Well, it should be far enough away from the corners anyway.
It should be far enough away from the corners that it shouldn't affect the semi-standard. Our snow piles in the winter will affect it more than I think the parking will.
Have you looked and see, coming through this alley, especially from the bank, going through the alley, coming into North Seneca, where they're parking with the curb there now, there's times that when people park right here in front of this lawn, you almost have to get darn near halfway out in the street to even see before you can even make a turn, and by that time, then cars coming from the intersection off of Main Street. What they're gonna be out here in the street further now, is that gonna cause more of a visibility issue?
Even diagonal parking, you have trouble.
Yeah.
If you don't get out and go behind your vehicle and look before you back out, you're asking for it.
Right. I like it where we're getting more parking spaces in there. I know with the alley that we've got over, by chiropractor, Chick's place over there, kind of the same way when you're coming out through that area, you're just trying to get out enough in there to see traffic. You
So-
can't see the traffic.
I have a question. Because I see this quite a bit and I chuckle quite a bit. Our alleys aren't labeled as one way. And it's funny how many times I have to watch cars back out because someone's coming.
It used to be one way.
Yeah, so does that something we should look at again? I mean,
They used to all be one way. That we removed that, I don't know how many years ago.
Was that a council decision during that time period during those?
I believe so. You're really stretching my brain here because it was like
When I was at the shop, we had to pull the signs.
10, 15 years ago.
I remember when they,
I don't remember what all played out.
it used to be a two-way, then they got put into a one-way.
Yep.
Then they got removed again, so I don't know what.
and I know it happens by the post office too, because people come in one way to drop mail off, like people are turning to go up.
The only one
Post office.
that was left one way was the
Post office.
post office out.
So they were driving the wrong way.
Yeah,
They were.
those people were breaking the law.
Did you see if they had out-of-state plates or not?
It was California,
Was it? Makes sense now.
but, so I don't know if that's something you might maybe look at again. I just think it's funny. Because both, they sit there and they stare at each other like, who's gonna back up? It's like-
The other item we talked about, the streets committee, Rodeo Street.
Yes.
It's rough. There is
Boy, I
nothing
know.
we can do to fix it. It's gonna cost a lot of money to fix that street. We're talking probably $1 million just to fix the street. As a temporary solution, we'd like to mill the road and lay it back in and roll it in. And if it holds up well enough, we can maybe look at doing a chip seal on it next year, to help preserve it until we can come up with the funding we need to do.
If we can do
What about the Cascade intersection with Rodeo?
That would be overall too. Yeah, you're talking the one on Rodeo with the big hump?
Yeah.
So that's something we should start on Monday.
Yeah.
Where, right,
Well, that's just
where
next to work.
Cascade and Rodeo,
Come together.
Pumping
Don't
road.
drive there.
is that where Shirley Harder
Yeah.
lives?
Yeah,
Yeah, if they can do something similar with the county did when they milled all that on the Fairgrounds Road and oiled it, laid it right back down and packed it in.
What did they do there?
What's
What part?
there now?
Well, it worked, it was nice.
And that hump that coming off at Cascade, you don't look, it doesn't seem like it's that much of a hump until you get going across it.
Until you drop into the hole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
What you got the other day?
The one on, what we did on East Road, we actually added oil to it and mixed it in. One thing we found out when we did that, our asphalt zipper is not capable of doing it. We cannot float that thing and keep it up out of the mud or the dirt below. So we get a lot of heavy clay soils and mixed into the asphalt and with the oil, and it just ruined it is what it did. We would have to find some way to mix it. The asphalt zipper now makes an attachment. It's as much as the machine was initially, when we initially purchased it for.
Budget session's over.
What's that?
Budget session's over.
I know, you and I need to talk. I think you might have capability to build it. But yeah, so we probably wouldn't mix any oil with it. We'd probably spray it after we were done and then come back a year later like we did East Road and chip seal. So
What about this brand new asphalt recycler that we just bought?
it's working.
So would it be an option for trying to work on Rodeo Street at all?
It needs to be about 10 times larger. The machine we bought was for patchwork. Rodeo Street needs a whole new street. So we had the geotech done on it. The geotech showed that we're gonna have to go 6 inches of asphalt, 6 inches of base sitting on geogrid, and then 3 feet of engineered fill below that. With geogrid and drainage.
So the street needs completely rebuilt.
It needs the same treatment we did on Highland and Frontier Stockade because of the type of soil it is. And you're talking $1 million to $2 million. So. But this would get us a temporary solution.
Temporary piece of it while we're working on 7th Avenue projects, getting those done, trying to work this way.
Yeah. Sheridan Street and Rodeo are two of the next projects I want to take on, but between Sheridan and Rodeo, you're talking $4 million.
We started on 7th Avenue. Where they started?
No.
Wow. But if that's okay with everybody, we'll move forward with that. That was a recommendation of the committee. So.
How come somebody from the streets committee didn't speak to it?
Well, we elected him.
Okay.
I agree with Greg, I was on that, in that meeting.
Yeah, were you awake?
Sure.
Maybe you ought to get on the streets committee and do that then.
Well, I didn't make the streets committee, that was my suggestion.
Thanks, Aaron.
That's why we elected Greg jury foreman.
The cemetery committee, we discussed the new burial plots. Right now, we charge $250 a burial plot for the old part, for the existing part of the cemetery. We'd like to increase the fee or the price for the new lots to $500.
I was awake during this meeting,
Yeah.
so the committee had agreed that for the new section of the cemetery, that we would have, it's our suggestion to the rest of the council that we move forward with increasing the cost per plot from $250 to $500 in the new section. So the ordinance will have to be reworked because currently we only have, what was it, 44? 45 plots left, and they would stay at the same cost. But in the spirit of trying to generate more revenue, we would suggest to the council that we move towards the $500 a plot. And then we were gonna leave the child burial plots at the same cost. And then what was the other one? Help me out.
Oh, you're asking him?
I have to because I got the meeting.
Oh, so you were asleep at that point?
I must sit over.
Yeah.
I was awake. I'm just letting Greg talk.
Oh, okay.
Everything else, the internment costs and stuff like that would all stay the same. It'd be just the burial plots themselves.
Do we have a overall cost of the project to make the new part of the cemetery where we can see whether or not the 500 increase is even gonna pay part of it?
Yes, basically it would cover the construction costs we have involved with it and about 10 years worth of maintenance for those lots is what it would cover. We're looking at between, they haven't got me the full numbers yet for the resetting of all the pins and the surveying, but it looks like it's gonna be about $60,000 by the time I get the sod purchased and everything surveyed. Around 60.
So this would be an amendment to the current ordinance?
That's probably more doubles.
The price?
For the price. If the council was comfortable with it, I would move that we would amend the current ordinance to reflect the changes that the committee had decided on.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
The other thing we're looking at, I recommended to the committee, was to restrict placing the headstones to the west side of the graves.
Oh, yeah.
What was that? Sorry.
Restricting headstones to the west side of the graves in the new section. Give it a little more uniformity and help us not have to drive on graves to dig. We have areas that we have one row at the foot of the stone, or foot of the grave, the other one's at the head of the grave, and we can't get to these graves to dig them. So we have to drive on the graves in order to dig them. We're trying to avoid that. We'd like to stay in the alleys and work out of the alleys, so we're not driving on them to actually do the dig work. This time of year, especially right now with all the extra rain, it tears up the cemetery. We rut everything up and we have to do this. We bought mats to do it, and they help out a bunch, but there still is issues with it.
So that was the committee's recommendation. So I would move that we move the headstones to the west side of the graves. And that's a further amendment to the ordinance that exists currently.
So you're driving on them with a backhoe? Would a mini X help?
That's why we're looking at mini X.
They have a mini excavator that I ran in tight quarters.
Yeah, it's just, problem with it is the one we got is fairly small, and it's hard to get it up into the truck. So that's why we're looking at a bigger mini X this time instead of a backhoe, just to help with that issue too. But regardless, we still have to drive a dump truck across the creek. So.
For Phil?
I second.
Okay,
Tyrell.
we have a
Because we haul it off, so that it doesn't sit next to the grave.
Okay, so we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Anything else?
The Water and Sewer Committee, we discussed rates for the water and sewer.
This was a point of contention. So,
Didn't you go to?
We got our bill the other day.
yeah, so, we ended up trying to, find some middle ground because of course, messing with the rates is a death sentence for most elected officials, but there's been a need, recognized about the fact that our rates have been so low that it doesn't give us any padding in our enterprise funds. And water and wastewater is supposed to be run like a business. And the reason that we don't have funding so that we can continue to try to improve the infrastructure in our town is because we've been operating at such a low cost for so long. So I think Greg sent out an email about maybe sending out some kind of a public notice to let people know that there is going to be some changes, and then he sent some letters that, some of the vendors have sent over the years that explain to people why their costs need to be updated. So I think what the recommendation of the committee was to increase by, it was something around like $7 or something like that on the water end. It was gonna bring us up around like $20, and then it was gonna be, cause right now we include 2,000 gallons, with our base rate. So it was gonna bring our, the cost per 1,000 up closer to the $7 mark where Greg wanted to be, for those first initial 2,000 gallons. And then every 1,000 after that was gonna be $7. So it's gonna be a way for us not to get, conserved out of business. So we'll have a little bit higher rate, and I think Clerk Haggerty was there and she projected that the cost on the water bill or the utility bills was gonna be about
$16.
$16 more per month, which I'm sure that some people are gonna be upset about. But it's gonna go a long ways towards trying to make up some of the deficit that we have right now. So then we'd also agreed to increase the, this is our recommendation for the rest of the council, but to increase the sewer rate to $9 per 1,000. So anyway, again, it's important that we increase our rates, and then hopefully this gets us a little bit further ahead so that we can wait for, the results from the master plan, where they'll provide us with recommendations for a rate structure next year.
I think one of the most important things that we did mention at the streets committee too is the marketing of this idea. I mean, the people of the city have to buy into this. And we would like to have all your suggestions and everybody's suggestions, maybe even Jen Womack's suggestions, about how we present this idea and let the people know we're at a deficit. We're not even getting half the money we need for the things that we're spending the money in the water and the sewer on.
So if this is put in motion and approved, are we giving like in 2 months this will be starting, or is it going to start right away? Because I think we need to give some heads up. I mean, there's some people that are on a fixed budget.
Unfortunately, Madam, our budget was built around revenue that we hadn't even generated yet.
Yes, I know that.
So you understand that we're kind of behind the 8 ball. I mean, I didn't agree personally with how this idea was adopted. It's poor planning to bet on money that you're not making. So that's why the initial ordinance was tried to be pushed out so quickly, is because we were working with money that we didn't generate yet. So it's not a really sound practice. But now that we're here, I was just appointed to the board for Wyo Help. I'm gonna reach out to Kyle, their executive director, and then we'll see what we can do to provide the citizens with utility help, you know, like utility assistance. If people come in and complain about it. But at $15 per month, even on a fixed income, I don't think that it's gonna make or break people with that $15. So, but this is a necessary thing. So with that, I would move that we would adopt the recommendations that the Water Committee and Sewer Committee brought back to the council.
And Stacy, you did keep minutes of that meeting, so we have it all pretty well.
I have the numbers, yes.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Madam Mayor, Stacy and I think can work on drafting a letter to get out to the citizens, just like the vendors send to us every year. Kind of help explain it. It costs around $1,400 to mail out if we use regular standard mail.
Any other discussion?
I think that, you know, the mayor's been pretty good at posting things on Facebook, on the, what is it? Newcastle, what's happening. So I mean, that might be a lot of people get Facebook notifications, and I mean, I always know when she posts things. So.
Social media is a powerful tool.
Yeah. So I mean, if we blanket the community with, but then what your original estimate was around $800.
Was it? Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, about $860 some odd to make mailings.
And that will spread, but like by word of mouth,
Yeah, that's.
like wildfire,
Cause
because
it's,
people are gonna be pissed.
yep. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, unfortunately,
The problem is our costs are going up just like everybody else's.
Yeah, and that's what they gotta understand.
we can't continue to operate like this.
Well, they just won't have any water or sewer when it collapses.
And we can put a little note on the counter too. A lot of people look at that when they come in to pay their bills. We can give them a heads up that way too.
All right, any other discussion?
And it should be explained too, that in the past, that hasn't been compensated for.
Yeah.
They
Since
kicked
when?
this down the road a
Yeah,
long
kick the can down.
We're paying.
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign? Okay.
So, Madam Mayor,
So
before we
this
go
next
on, the
paper,
mailings.
so you're putting it in now.
Do we need to make a council decision as to
Not this
mailings?
week, but it could be in next
So,
week's paper. 'Cause
I think that mailing
So
out
when does
letters to our
like,
constituents
pay-
in regard
I
to
mean-
this would be something important to do,
When will it
so they can
take
actually
effect? Well,
see
they'll
something
draft
tangible in
it
front of
and
them
then you guys
that
can-
tells them why the need is there. So I would feel comfortable making a motion that we spend whatever it is, $800 and some odd unless they come up with some kind of a
Bulk
rate to mail out a letter that the public works supervisor writes that would kind of educate the public as to why we're doing this.
I'm gonna make him take this shot, huh?
Oh, he takes them all
He
anyway.
doesn't have to run for re-election. I see what you're doing here.
Do we have a second?
Who seconded it?
I said, do we have a
Oh.
second?
I was just gonna say, I agree with that, because that way it's not word of mouth. You know, it'll bloom into something that it's not.
Yeah, all of a sudden it'll be $30 or $40.
Yep, so I agree.
Are you gonna?
I'll second it, sorry.
Thank you. We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Aye. I just had to forget something again. I was kidding.
Any other
Can you-
committee reports?
Tone it down.
That's all we had.
Is there any other business?
Madam Mayor, I have one more thing. Just in light of the ambiguity that the chief and I are gonna clear up on Wednesday regarding, I guess let's call it the at-large elector board. I would like the council, if the council would, basically make a motion pending the clarification of what that board's composition will be, deciding who on this council would be the person selected by the city council for that board. So basically someone, I know I discussed this at the last meeting, I thought that the city council should think about who they would want to be on that board to pick and vote on.
Well, we have a police committee.
I was almost gonna ask that question too, Madam Mayor, why don't we have
We
an
have
EMS committee?
we have our police committee, why don't we have someone from our police committee be one on that panel? And that would be Tom, Don, and Ann. So, and Don's got fire experience too, so that might be helpful. Are you comfortable with being on it?
I was gonna put my name in for it, but obviously it's the council and other people that's reviewing these applications for that, but if it was something that was gonna try to cover those different entities where I have input with the fire department and the fire district and
Would it be a conflict of interest for you to be on that panel?
you know, it'd be something you can visit with the other ones, but I know when this first all started with the potential joint powers board is where that came from, is all of those entities came to me to bring their concerns to try to get this to light.
So then you'll be able to help ask those questions to the, are you comfortable or would you rather, I mean, because we only can have one person.
Yeah, I'm fine with Don.
Tom?
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, he's got all the
Yep.
records or credentials.
So we would have, we,
Yeah, let's make a motion basically appointing him to that. I mean, pending,
Well,
of course, if
we'll
it
let
ends
you-
up being.
I move that we make that Don's the, whatever,
Just say so moved like he said.
the representative.
for the joint powers board for the city of Newcastle.
Right.
Stacy's got it all down.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Sustaining out of that one to make sure
Okay,
that,
yeah.
to make sure that there's no conflict from my side.
So all opposed, same sign? Okay. So maybe talk with Dublin and Chief on all of that. Okay, any other business? Claims against the city dated July 3rd, 2023.
Your Honor, I move that this August 5. Pay the July 3rd bills presented to it by his,
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further
I wasn't
discussion?
done, I was practicing.
All in favor, say aye.
I had some discussion.
You did?
Yeah, so the mechanic was, given some kind of compensation. Was it like a part that wasn't available somewhere in town?
We actually found it cheaper on Amazon.
So he just paid for it and then he was reimbursed?
Yes.
Okay. It was just kind of confused me as to why he was in there.
We don't have any way of purchasing through eBay, Amazon, stuff like that. Purchased, we saved about $30 on the part going through where he found it.
So this seems like something that the city should have an Amazon account, or, I mean, and we have a city credit card, right? So it just seems like it'd be a little less clunky and more streamlined if we actually had an account and then use the city credit card to pay for it.
We should have got some more.
Sure.
They came today.
I wanted a card, we can go real.
I gotta use the
Okay, is there any other discussion?
I move we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, or any further discussion?
Yeah, so I was still trying to make a point. I mean, does anybody else on the council feel that it's relevant for the city shop to have an Amazon account?
How often do
We can use
you,
that.
yeah,
You know, is it something that the
It varies.
clerk,
We have one.
It's not like it's something that goes bad.
Typically, we buy parts through, normally we buy the parts through,
Thanks to you.
Newcastle Equipment. They would purchase it on Amazon, charge us for the use of that purchase.
do you get free delivery?
What's that?
Do you get free delivery?
Some of it.
Prime.
Because maybe he's got the Prime account and there's free delivery.
Oh, and that other guy.
I know Amazon offers a business account.
Yeah, I can look into it if you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, no, it's the council's pleasure.
Well, if you want to count, I agree with you setting it up.
How often do we buy from Amazon?
More frequently than, it's getting more and more frequent.
Why?
Cost. If we can't find it locally and we have to outsource it outside of Wyoming, why spend a bunch of extra money because we buy it from so-and-so and we can get it on Amazon cheap? We can't run it through someplace in Newcastle with a profit from it. The one you're talking about, that we had a bad cord on the new manlet, or used manlet we purchased. Nobody in town could get it for us. We were looking at getting it out of Casper. I want to say the part Sean bought was $145, and to get it through Casper is like $210. If we're gonna buy it through Casper anyway, they're gonna get it probably from Amazon and sell it to us for $210. Just purchased it through Amazon, or he purchased it through that, and we paid.
Well, I think it's a good idea for the shop to have an Amazon account, and then we already have city credit cards and everything to pay for it. So I just think that would be a positive thing. So that's just my opinion.
Stacy's gonna look into the business account part of it. Okay. Can we get, a motion to adjourn again?
We had a motion properly seconded, Madam Mayor. We just need a vote.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.